So, welcome and hello. I'm really honored to be meeting with you tonight. Um, and I want to thank Paul Chatlin for inviting me and all of his team for making this happen. I met Paul about 5 years ago. I think I just happened upon the PBNSG website. And I just sent a message saying, like, way to go, starting this to help people. And I think I probably said I was a physician in Canada and also trying to help people in this way. And from that, Paul ended up inviting me to come to one of your small group meetings, which I don't think had fewer than 400 people at it. It was the time, I think 2019, when Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn was presenting, and he also invited me to dinner with the Esselstyn family. It was like such an honor. So here we are. I'm in Ontario, Canada, so I think it's about 4 hours north of you. And I'm a perinatal psychiatrist, which means I'm an MD with 5 years of psychiatry residency training, including several months in perinatal. So I mostly treat women with any kind of mental health problem during pregnancy and the postpartum period. But ever since 2010, when I started learning about the incredible healing power we have with nutrition for health, honestly, I can't keep quiet for it. I just want to share it with anyone who wants to hear, who wants to listen to it. But what's kind of shocking to me is that my physician colleagues, for the most part, the vast majority, they don't want to hear anything about it. And so I finally, in just before the pandemic started in 2020, I put together about a 1 hour presentation so that I could teach anybody about it. And I started sharing it with family and friends. And by the end, they were saying, okay, we're convinced, like, now what? How do we switch? And I was like, I didn't prepare anything for that, but I would just tell them, like, okay, breakfast and lunch. And so now I've actually like built this into my work that I do. I started a nonprofit last year, and this is kind of my main thing now, is helping women with chronic health concerns to transition to eating this way and transitioning their lifestyle. Okay, so it's customary for doctors giving a presentation to let people know if they're biased. You have to say who's paid you and who might be influencing what you're saying. So very importantly, I have no vested interest in whatever you choose to eat, other than I care about you as fellow human beings, and I hope that you will be healthy and live a long time. And perhaps more importantly for your sake, is I have no vested interest in keeping you sick either. Unlike, the food lobby groups, the pharmaceutical companies, and, as they say, there's no money in dead people and there's no money in healthy people, but there's lots of money in the chronically sick. Who are going to keep eating the milk, the meat, dairy, and eggs, and who are going to keep needing the medications. Not that I'm anti-medication, though. I'm very happy to have that part of my toolbox. I just don't reach for that part of the toolbox quite as often as I used to. And I do eat whole food plant-based, by the way. And it's funny that in some plant-based studies, the authors actually disclose what they eat, but not in the meat, dairy, and egg sponsored studies. They don't disclose that they eat those things. We'll get more into that, probably not later today, but at another presentation that I'll give. So like I said, I'm going to be speaking with you 4 times throughout the year, but today I want to share with you a few things. First, how I became so keen on sharing this knowledge, a bit about my story, and how I started learning about the power of plants. And then today we're primarily going to talk about the evidence on nutrition for preventing and reversing various chronic disease processes, especially the ones that kill us the most as women. And also see what the evidence says about how much nutrition matters. And I probably don't need to do a spoiler alert with this group, but it matters a lot. So next time we're going to talk about the evidence about more chronic diseases that women suffer from. And like I said, I'm open to your requests. So if there's anything you want to know more about, know if nutrition can help, just send me an email. I can put that in the chat, and I'll do some research on that and get back to you the next time. So, and then also in the future, I want to talk about why this totally simple and yet amazing healing information is not mainstream. Like why don't all our friends know about it? why don't we learn about it in school as children? And how is it possible that our doctors are not prescribing it? Now, for a little fun, I think we can all use some fun at the end. I'd love to reward people for being committed to their health. So I put together it's called the top 6 transformative health secrets that I think every woman should know if she wants fabulous health. And then the other, it's all in one, document for you, but the other one is my whole food plant-based creme brulee recipe. And as far as I know, last I checked on the internet, there wasn't another one that's fully whole food plant-based. So, and it's of course very delicious. So if you want to get that, let me put that in the chat right now. It's bit.ly/the top 6 plus. How do I get back to the chat? Oh, there we go.
So is there a free session with you as well, Dr. Polak? A free 20-minute nutrition consultation?
I'm going to do a draw for that at the
Okay.
end. How can I write to everyone? Meeting group chat?
Yep, that's where to put it. I wish I had it. I would do it for you so you wouldn't have to do it right now, but
it's not going in. Like nothing's copying and pasting.
Well, why don't you tell me what it is and I'll look it up and paste it. You said it's bit.ly the top 6?
HTTPS and then bit.ly/the top 6 plus.
The top 6 what?
Plus.
Oh, there it is. It's right there on the screen. Yeah. Okay.
I just typed it in. Yeah, you didn't.
I'll put it on there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and then also at the end, so there's like 5 people or something, right?
Yep.
Okay, so whoever's interested, I'll just put your names into the wheel of names and the wheelofnames.com, and then we'll hit go and we'll do a draw for a free nutrition and wellness consultation with me. Okay,
sounds good.
Next, I'd like to know what led you to want to come here tonight. Polls are, I don't know if I know how to do this while I'm sharing the screen. While I'm, okay.
Would you like me to pull up the poll or? Oh, you got it. Okay, good.
Did it come up? Okay.
Yep.
So just the reasons that you're here. What inspired you to come here tonight?
If you can't see the whole answer, just put your cursor over the sentence and then you'll see all the words. Just a little tip there.
So there's 3. Does everyone put it in? Okay, so I'll end the poll. You already know that you want help to transition to eating this way. Can you see that now? Am I sharing the results?
Yep, but the big blue line is all the way across the last answer.
Yeah, so everyone knows that nutrition can prevent and reverse diseases. And okay, so I'll stop sharing that. Whoops. And then I'm going to share my screen. Oh, and then do you know what? While I'm off, there's another poll that I want to do. Just interested in what people are currently eating, like how people are currently eating. Polls. I'm not quick enough with these polls. Okay, here we are, launch. So what's your current nutrition? What you eat at least 90 or 95% of the time? Anywhere from whole food, plant-based, no oil, or adding more and more, processed and or animal products, all the way down to, mostly meat and potatoes and don't be shy. Like, I know you're all in the plant-based nutrition support group, so I know everyone's probably aiming to eat this way, but there's so many, challenges to eating this way that maybe people are not. Okay, has everyone had a chance? Then I see 4 answers. Okay, so looks like everyone's eating plant-based and most are plant-based, no oil. Okay. Let's stop sharing. Okay, so that gives me a good idea of the audience that's here. Okay. Okay. So did you know that so do you know what? Maybe I'll ask the audience and you can just put something in the chat or say something out loud. What is it that you're hoping to learn tonight? Is there anything in particular you're wanting to hear about or learn about in terms of women's health, preventing and reversing chronic diseases?
This is Sid here, the host. When
Yeah.
I found out you were specializing in anxiety, I would like to know more about that. Dealing with anxiety.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Linda says to be sure that she's getting the right nutrition while she's eating plant-based. And Anne says, I just want to hear your expertise and what interests and excites you.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. So if it's okay, I'll maybe talk about anxiety the next time.
Sure.
I
Yep.
have slides on anxiety, but they're like way down in the I didn't know what people wanted for sure, so I thought, well, I'll choose the biggest killers, the
Yep.
diseases that kill people the most. So I'm starting with, primarily breast cancer and heart disease today, but I can talk about whatever diseases affect women that people want to hear about in the future, no problem. Okay. So did you know that the diseases that kill us the most are largely preventable? We now have evidence that many so-called chronic conditions don't even have to exist, let alone be chronic. And I'll be showing you high quality data today that prove these are very often not just preventable, but often even reversible. But death only gives us a partial picture of the burden of disease that that people suffer when they're alive. So let's look at the disability that these diseases cause. So one DALY, or disability adjusted life year, represents the loss of the equivalent of 1 year of full health. So a DALY combines the years of life lost due to premature death, but also the years of healthy life lost due to disability. The red at the top is communicable or contagious diseases, the little lines at the top of each bar. The green at the very bottom is accidents or injuries, and all that blue is the chronic diseases, the non-communicable diseases. So these actually lead to about 74%, almost 3/4 of all deaths globally. And every year, 17 million people die from a non-communicable disease before the age of 70. And we now know, and I'll show you throughout the presentation, that so many chronic diseases don't even have to exist, like hypertension or high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes. These can be reversed in a month or two, and sometimes in just a week or two. Menopausal symptoms, premenstrual syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, migraines, fibromyalgia for some, cognitive impairment. About 90% of Alzheimer's cases are preventable, and even heart disease, the world's biggest killer as well. Kidney failure, Crohn's disease, lupus, and many other autoimmune diseases, and really the list just goes on. So if you could take a pill and Sid, do you know how I can get rid of or how I can make the bar of pictures at the top, like can move to the top?
Oh, to put it at the top?
Yeah.
Let's see, go to, let's see. Oh, here we go.
Oh, I can minimize it. That's
How's
what I'll
that?
do. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay. So, so if you could take a pill that would make your body and brain healthier, more resistant to the biggest disease killers, and including, COVID, flus, even cold viruses and other infections, by the way, would you take it? If I told you it would cost you less than nothing, because this pill would actually save you money every week, would you take it? What if I told you the main side effects would be feelings of well-being, fabulous energy, improved mood and anxiety, restorative sleep, an end to constipation? Would you take it? I think I know what the answer is in this group tonight. And of course, what I'm talking about is not another pill. It's way better than that. I'm going to share with you tonight some empowering information to arm you and your loved ones with real evidence-based hope that can help you get your health back, or if you're already healthy, to help you stay healthy and vibrant well into old age. So it was my own personal health crisis in 2010, about 10 years after I graduated from med school, that made me really pour into the medical literature on the most evidence-based ways to heal the human body. And what I learned was very exciting, but also deeply concerning. I discovered that what they taught us in med school about nutrition was not actually based on sound science. It was just expert opinion, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. And worse, industry-sponsored data. Um, I mean, at least we had an attempt at some nutrition training in my medical school. You can ask your doctor if he or she had any nutrition training, and you'll likely find out that there was none for many doctors anyway. But what they taught us simply wasn't true. So I think they actually would have served us better as your future physicians to have taught us nothing about nutrition and to inform us that we knew nothing about nutrition, so that we wouldn't mistakenly believe we were armed with sound knowledge to share with patients. And so patients wouldn't mistakenly believe that their doctor was a source to trust about healthy nutrition. They were well-meaning, but they swayed thousands of us way off course in terms of being able to help our patients eat healthfully. What they taught me in med school has been disproven by sound ethical science for many decades, like almost 100 years. Since the 1930s, we've had more and more data just piling up, proving that eating whole plant foods, not animals, not supplements or isolated bits of foods like protein powders and greens powders, not processed foods. These are what make people the healthiest, the happiest, the strongest, and live the longest. So since my illness, with an open mind, I took it upon myself to really delve into the most high quality scientific research on nutrition and to find out the truth for myself. I did this for myself and my family, but given what I found, I now want to share it with anyone who's open to it. My husband and I started to eat pescatarian in 2007. I knew that vegetarians lived longer, but we were already not eating, so because of that, we were already not eating beef and, because of the mad cow scare, but we stopped eating all meat, including chicken, which for some reason people don't necessarily include as meat. And we started, and we thought we needed fish at the time for the omega-3s and for brain health. But as I learned more and more about the healing power of nutrition, we went almost fully whole food plant-based in 2015. No meat, no eggs, much less dairy, and no fish. It was only when I had a breast cancer scare in 2018 that I cut out the last 2 ounces of milk in my cappuccino, because I'm half Italian, and fully embraced eating whole food, plant-based, and generally no added oil, no sugar, and little or usually no added salt. Most people find dairy to be the hardest thing to give up, though. My husband was eating cheese most days. And despite years of eating vegetarian, he learned his cholesterol was high. His father had had a quadruple bypass at 51. So having high cholesterol was very concerning to me, since of course it's linked to heart disease. I didn't want the same for my husband, and fortunately neither did he. And when he gave up dairy, probably no surprise to you folks, his cholesterol dropped like a stone. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some of the vast literature on the power of nutrition for your health. And like I've said, there's so much I'd love to share that it's really hard for me to pick and choose. So buckle up. I have a lot to share in a short time. And like I said, feel free to email me with future requests if you'd like me to, delve into the research on any particular illness and give you that information next time. And maybe you could just put in the, oh yeah, this I can just skip actually, because you're all eating whole food plant-based already. And I was going to do another poll about, do people have chronic health issues or afraid of getting chronic health issues? Yeah, why don't I do that? And that might inform me for what to share. Whoops.
While you're pulling up the poll, Vivian, I'm going to put that link again for your free the top 6 plus, because we've had some new people come into the group.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Or is it still in the chat? Let me go. I can go back while people are looking to answer this.
Yeah, I've put it in the chat. I put the link in the chat.
Oh, you did put it in already. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So people are responding. It's a long list, but just kind of tick, tick, tick. What disease process or health conditions you're kind of dealing with. Okay. So I'll share the results. So it looks like we've got a mix of things. So high cholesterol, heart disease, Hashimoto's or lupus, or I guess it's some kind of autoimmune disease, a mood or anxiety disorder, insomnia or low energy, and overweight or obesity. Great. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Whoops. Oh, right. I went back. Sorry. There's the poll. Okay. So what did I learn in med school about nutrition? I really didn't learn much that I didn't already know. I didn't value my nutrition class because, like everyone else in my class, I thought I knew most of what they were teaching. You need milk for your bones, meat for the protein. They also taught us that mushrooms have no nutritional value except for the fiber. And of course, none of these things are correct. So don't take those as what I'm telling you about. They're not correct. And they spent 3 classes on making us aware of microcystins, which are a blue-green algae that a lot of people were taking back then for energy. But if you took too much, they were warning us that you can actually get kidney or liver failure. And so these are the most salient facts from my nutrition training in med school. I didn't realize until 10 years after I graduated that the expert nutritional opinion was based on industry-sponsored, rubbish, except for the microcystin story. That was true. And I think their point was actually a good one, that just because something is natural doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy or even safe. And I think that's a good rule to follow, even if microcystins are not really food. As for mushrooms, it turns out that a lot of wild mushrooms are the most anti-cancer foods on the planet by way of many protective mechanisms, and they can even counter the side effects of cancer treatments. So let's have a look at what doctors and scientists call science and what convinces us to recommend, for example, a certain treatment for a disease. What makes good evidence? So here you can see the pyramid showing how convinced we are by different types of research data. The most convincing stuff that relates to human health is at the very top, and the least convincing is at the very bottom. And the most convincing, there's not much of it, and the least convincing, there's lots of it, right? There's also lots of the Tom, Dick, and Harry websites who claim whatever they want to claim. So if we're looking at primary studies involving real people, that's the middle group, This is where they take a group of people, they divide them randomly into different groups, and then they see what happens. Which group lives the longest, which group gets rid of their diabetes, which group gets sicker, etc. Above that are the secondary studies at the top. This is like a meta-analysis, which is a whole bunch of primary studies put together. So you have a bigger data set, and that allows you to draw more accurate conclusions. Clinical practice guidelines are like our recipe book at the very top. That's like the recipe book doctors use to treat, say, high blood pressure or cancer or depression. And these are a big conglomeration of lots of primary and secondary studies all put together to make treatment recommendations. So of course they're at the very top. But wait a second, where's expert opinion on this pyramid? Can you see it there? Since that's what all my nutrition training in medical school came from, way down there at the bottom in orange. So should we allow ourselves to be convinced of someone's expert opinion? Med school taught me we need milk for our bones, right? Well, my internist colleague told me he often sees people reverse their osteoporosis with nutrition and exercise, and weight-bearing exercise is very important for osteoporosis. And he says that milk and dairy are not just not good for you, but they're worse than useless for preserving bone mass. Now, I can't just leave you with his expert opinion though, right? So let's take a look. This is a review article from Harvard in February 2020 from the New England Journal of Medicine, a highly respected peer-reviewed journal. And importantly, the authors have no vested interest in what you consume. The main reason, if we look back in history, for recommending high lifelong milk consumption was to meet the calcium requirements for bone health. So let's see if it works. Well, paradoxically, you can see here that as milk consumption increases, so too does the number of hip fractures. So milk does not appear to be protective for our bones at all. But okay, wait a second, just because two things are associated or correlated doesn't mean one's causing the other, right? Hip fractures may not be directly caused by milk consumption. The hip fractures may be due to some other factors. And we do know that, like I said, weight-bearing exercise is key to keep forming new bone faster than old bone gets broken down. And we are a pretty sedentary bunch. But what we can say for certain is that low lifetime dairy consumption is clearly compatible with lower rates of hip fracture. I'm going to say that again. Avoiding milk is absolutely compatible with fewer hip fractures. We'll be looking at meat in a few minutes as well. And as you all know, it's not a health food. Today, I'm going to try to share with you a tiny bit of the vast evidence we have for feeding our bodies with great nutrition. Plant foods and whole foods, not processed foods or food fragments like juices and things. I think all of you know that a whole food plant-based diet is the most effective diet for reducing our risk of cancer, high blood pressure, all the chronic diseases. And so, yeah, let's get into this. So I went to med school because I wanted to help people, help them suffer less, live healthier lives, and feel better. And the last words of the dean at my medical school graduation were, "So grads, go out and save lives and stomp out disease." And yes, we were taught how to save lives in an emergency, but we were not actually taught how to stomp out disease. So back to the top 10 causes of death. The majority of these deaths could be prevented with the right foods, and in many cases undone or even reversed by optimizing nutrition. So let's look at what is probably the most dreaded disease for most people, which is cancer. So back to this study for just a moment. In addition to the bone data, they found that the protein and saturated fat in milk is increasing our risk of getting various common cancers, and especially in women, breast cancer, possibly from the effects of milk on IGF-1. Milk has a lot of sugar in it, and when we eat sugar, insulin increases, and when our insulin spikes, IGF-1 spikes, or insulin-like growth factor also spikes, and makes fast-growing cells, such as cancer cells, grow faster. They also found a hierarchy of mortality risk in the protein sources. So the plant-based sources of protein, like beans, peas, chickpeas, lentils, tofu, tempeh, and nuts, had the lowest risk of death. And the highest risk was associated with eggs and processed red meat. And processed red meat, you may know, was declared a class 1 carcinogen, which is the same category as cigarette smoking and asbestos by the World Health Organization, which means there's enough convincing evidence to say that it causes cancer. The second highest mortality risk was associated with milk, being on par with chicken, fish, and unprocessed red meat. And red meat is a class 2A carcinogen, meaning it's probably carcinogenic to humans. Our bodies are actually programmed to heal. We've all experienced this, right? If you fall and scrape your knee on the pavement, you're going to bleed. But within days, you won't even have a mark on your skin. But if you fall and scrape your knee 3 to 5 times a day, it's never going to heal and will probably get a lot more serious than just a cut. And it's the same with food, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe snacks. You'll develop chronic diseases and that don't have a chance to resolve. So likewise, as Dean Ornish found in his telomere study, which I'll get to not today, but another day, if we feed our body, and the telomeres, that's like the shoelace, they're kind of like the plastic ends on shoelaces. They're the ends of our DNA that protect our DNA. And as we age, typically telomeres shorten, but Dean Ornish showed that we can actually lengthen telomeres with the right lifestyle habits, including nutrition, whole food plant-based nutrition. If we feed our bodies, what he found was if we feed our bodies healing anti-inflammatory foods, which is whole plant foods, plus we move our bodies, right, get exercise, we practice relaxation techniques, meditation, mindfulness, and we have loving people in our corner and supportive people in our circle, then our bodies can make some really amazing healing happen, and we can live well into old age and feel great, like they do in the blue zones regions of the world. I'm guessing a lot of people have heard of the blue zones now with the new, have you heard of that new show on Netflix? The Dan Buettner's show, Living to 100, I think it's called. So the blue zones anywhere where people often live till they're over 100. And you can see, and they're pockets, they're in pockets of the world. It's not a whole country, but in pockets of the world. And you can see in the bottom right some of the things they have in common that might be contributing to their longevity. I'm actually planning to have a yoga meditation plant-based meals retreat in one of the blue zones, hopefully next winter. Okay, so now back to cancer. How does it form anyway, and how does it spread to other organs? Just a little damage to our DNA can cause a cell to become a cancerous cell, and that's called initiation. You can see that on the left. We all have cancerous cells in our bodies, but we don't all get cancer. So the next stage is promotion. This is the time the cancerous cells start to form tiny tumors, and both these stages are completely reversible. At this stage, they actually run out of food because they're not connected to our regular blood vessels. So if we eat well and we have other healthy lifestyle behaviors, our immune system will chew up the cancer cells lying around and get rid of them. If that doesn't happen, though, then the tumor can start to generate its own blood supply called angiogenesis, angio blood and genesis for creating, which allows the tumor to get food from our regular blood supply and also to spread to our other organs. So if we take a closer look, here you can see on the left, there's a tiny tumor. It grows, and then you can see in the second stage there, it starts to throw out fertilizer to make a blood supply for itself. And then boom, on the far right, you can see it's now connected to the person's own regular blood vessels. So now it can get all the food it wants, and it can spread its cancerous cells elsewhere. The commonest cancer for women is breast cancer. There was a massive RCT, randomized controlled trial on breast cancer. Remember from the pyramid, that's the kind of study you need to prove cause and effect, to prove if one thing is causing a certain outcome. So this trial is from the Women's Health Initiative. They enrolled nearly 50,000 women, which is a pretty massive study. And they followed them for about 20 years, which is a really long time for a study. Most drug studies are like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks if you're lucky. And they found that women who started to eat plant-based survived longer, and that was a statistically significant reduction in death. This is the World Cancer Research Fund's recommendations, also endorsed by the American Institute for Cancer Research and the Canadian Cancer Society. You can see they recommend a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruit, and beans. And if you look at the actual guidelines and not just this pretty infographic, for the prevention of cancer, they actually suggest no processed foods, no meat, and especially they say no processed meat, no sugary drinks, and no alcohol. They also suggest getting all nutrients from foods rather than supplements, except that in Canada and many parts of the US and other places, we do need vitamin D. And if you're vegan, you need B12. It's not that B12 is made by cows or pigs or chickens, it's made by microorganisms. So in low and middle income countries, they don't necessarily take B12 supplements, they just don't sterilize their vegetables and things the way we do here. And meat is similar in that there's no B12 in meat. You get your B12 in meat from the dirt, bugs, and feces on the meat or in the burgers or whatever. And so, you know, supplements are safer because we don't have to get all the infections that can go along with that. The Canadian Cancer Society says 40% of cancers can be prevented by a healthy lifestyle. Others say over 60% of cancers can be prevented. And this is not to give anyone guilt. Most of us have not known that meat, dairy, and eggs are so terrible for our health, but it's really empowering info that we can have the power to vastly improve our health and to increase our chances of a better quality of life and improve longevity with a simple change in diet, even if we've already been diagnosed with cancer. Now, the #1 cause of death in the US and worldwide is heart disease. In the US, about every 10 seconds, a woman has a heart attack, and I think it's actually higher than that. And every 1 in 5 women dies of a heart attack. Around the world, over 40 people every minute die of a heart attack. The animal protein and saturated fat in meat, as well as milk and eggs, are killing us with not just cancer, but also heart disease, diabetes, and many other chronic diseases. This is one of my favorite studies. So back in 1986, Finland had the highest mortality around the world of heart disease. So they took on a 25-year project to try to change their deadly statistics. And they actually helped dairy farmers become berry farmers. And they had friendly competitions between villages to see who could eat better, who could lower their cholesterol more, and they even had prizes. So let's see how they did. In the eastern region where the project first started, it's called North Karelia, they reduced cardiac mortality in that region by 85%, and in the whole country by 80%. And because they had such a reduction in heart disease and cancer mortality, their life expectancy in that country soared by about 7 years for men and about 6 years for women. This is the power of an effective public health strategy. And, you know, maybe you're thinking, yeah, I don't even have heart disease. But if you're over 18 and if you've been eating the standard American diet for any amount of time, you almost certainly already have some amount of heart disease. Several studies have been done on deceased youth from accidents and from war zones. And when they did autopsies on them, these have consistently shown that most humans have fatty streaks, which is the start of heart disease, by about age 9 or 10. And they have fibrous plaques in their 20s. Even in teens, age 15 to 19, 20% of them have fibrous plaques, which is the next stage of heart disease from fatty streaks. But even if you don't have symptoms of heart disease or risk factors for it, I really think people deserve to know, and I think this should be part of a public health strategy, to know that of all people who are going to die of heart disease, more than half of them will have this as their first symptom: sudden cardiac death. And it's not uncommon even in young adults in their 30s and 40s. Heart disease is by far the commonest cause of all sudden cardiac deaths, with 75 to 80% of cases attributable to people with heart disease. In 2019, they studied nearly 30,000 Americans for 17 years, and they found that each additional 300 milligrams of cholesterol a day from diet, that's like 1 or 2 eggs, was significantly associated with increased cardiovascular disease. And here's the clincher, with all-cause mortality as well. Eggs are bad for health. This is a prospective randomized controlled trial. So remember, the kind that shows cause and effect of 48 patients, where 28 were assigned to a lifestyle intervention and 20 were controls. So the lifestyle intervention was 4 things: a plant-based diet, no smoking, stress management, and moderate exercise. And they did this for 1 year. I just want to give you a visual of what they found. This shows you just the lifestyle group. So you remember there were 2 groups, lifestyle and the controls. This is just the lifestyle group. So you can see they all improved, but to varying degrees. The ones who most adhered to the lifestyle interventions had the greatest improvement in their blockage of their coronary arteries. And those who adhered the least amount had the least improvement, but they all had improvement. Now, this shows the whole group, both the treatment people and the controls. And again, you can see the most adherent on the left had the most improvement, and the least adherent, which is mostly the control group, clogged their arteries further. This finding shows that conventional recommendations for patients with coronary heart disease are completely failing millions of people. And the patients, and in many cases, the doctors, don't even know it. Then they followed the same people for 5 years, and look at this. They published the results in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. Again, you can see the lifestyle group that were the most adherent had the greatest improvement in their stenosis, or their blockage, their coronary artery blockage, and the least adherent still improved, but much less. But look at this. Here you can see the whole group. At baseline, the groups are the same. They're on the same dot there on the left. Then at 1 year, you can see a little bit of improvement in the lifestyle people and a little bit of worsening in the control people. At 5 years, you can see this massive improvement in the lifestyle people and just continued worsening in the controls. Here's another study from 2011, 123 patients, same intervention, same outcomes. These are the coronary angiograms of a fit non-smoker who had a heart attack at 40. His cholesterol was even not bad at 156. You know, Dr. Esselstyn says 150 and below. That's in what he calls the heart attack proof zone. But, you know, not bad. A little higher up this artery, which is the left anterior descending, is what they call the widowmaker. So he was very lucky that he got a second chance at life and was able to decide to do what it took to reverse his disease. On the left, you can see how diseased it is, how it's all jagged and choppy. And then on the right, after 32 months of eating whole food, plant-based, you can see the artery has regained its normal, smooth and wider configuration. I think we all know there's no drug and there's no surgery that can do this. Stents don't do this. Stents are like a band-aid. They're life-saving, but it's a band-aid. If you don't change your nutritional habits, then it's coming right back. This is a PET scan showing an area of heart muscle or myocardium with insufficient blood flow. That's at the top. You can see that black spot. At the bottom, you can see that normal blood flow was restored. And I was going to say, put in the chat how long you think it took, but it says right there, doesn't it? It's 3 weeks, 3 weeks to do this. It's incredible. So Dr. Kim Williams from Chicago, he's the former president of the American College of Cardiology. He says there are 2 kinds of cardiologists, vegans and those who haven't read the data. And he urges his 40,000 cardiology colleagues to recommend a vegan diet. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn basically says the same thing, and that it's unconscionable for us to not recommend these dietary changes. Because many people will do it, and I couldn't agree more. Next is obesity. Oh, wait, are we supposed to finish at 8?
Yeah, but we can go over some.
Oh, I just realized that. I'm sorry.
That's
Do you want me
fine.
to skip this and talk about it the next time?
No, I think we're all intrigued. Let's keep going.
Okay. Okay, so we have an epidemic in Canada, the States, and many Western countries that have adopted the North American way of eating. Prospective studies, so those are the ones that start with a bunch of people and follow them over time. They've found that individuals following a vegan diet are much less often obese. So this is a randomized trial that examined changes in body weight among individuals on 1 of 5 diets. So you can see the picture here, vegan diets. That's the one at the bottom where people lost the most weight. They're found to be the most effective for weight loss than any of the other diets. If you look at this after 2 months, there's some spread between the different diets, but vegan and vegetarian are at the bottom. And then the others, there's a little spread, but by 6 months, all the people who are eating any meat basically and dairy, they've all regained their weight, or at least some of their weight. And the vegans have just continued to lose weight. Very quickly here, menopause. So women who ate a vegan diet had fewer hot flashes and physical symptoms associated with menopause, not to mention, of course, a much lower risk of the diseases that often kill us. Another study in Chinese women, same outcome. So maybe I'll stop there and just thank you for your kind attention. I want to leave some time for questions. And also to do the draw. And like I said, you can give me a request for the next time, which diseases you'd like me to maybe talk about. So tonight we covered lots of evidence-based information about the healing power of food. And when I started giving this presentation, most people wanted to know how to make the switch, and I had nothing prepared. But so now I've been building something that's super fun for me and apparently super helpful for women. One of the members just emailed me a couple of days ago and said, look at this, and shared some blood work with me. So no more prediabetes. Her hypothyroidism, she has Hashimoto's hypothyroiditis, or hypothyroidism, I should say, is improving. Her cholesterol is lower, so she's very happy, and she's only been in the membership for 5 weeks when she did that blood work. Another member told me she's much more energetic, sleeping better, feeling less stressed, and I mean, I didn't even write down, I couldn't write fast enough, but just lots of positive changes when you start to eat this way. So it's super fun for me. Like, I have the best job. Yeah, so if anyone's interested in hearing more, that's a QR code. If you hold up your camera to the QR code, if you're interested in seeing what this women's membership is about, it's called the Women's Health Hub for now anyway. It's probably a temporary name. But if you're interested in that, you can get the information there. I'm happy to talk about it if you like. And so let's do that draw. So I'll stop sharing, and I'm going to pull up a go wheel of names.
How do people enter their name, Vivian, or do you do that?
I'm going to do that right now, and just to make sure I'm getting it right, I'm going to share my screen while I do that. Why is it putting this here? Can you just see like a little bit?
I see click to spin. Yeah, I just see a little bit.
Sorry. I don't think I did that right. Share screen. Oh, okay. I clicked on the wrong thing. There. Now you should see my whole screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I just need to. How do I see the people again? Or do you want to call out the names and I'll start typing them in?
Sure. So we have Anne. Okay. I think there's only one Anne Howard.
With an E or no E?
No E.
Okay. Let's see.
We'll just put first names unless there's a duplicate.
Sure.
And then, oh, you've got Kessa, you've got her. Okay.
I just started, I was able to pull this down. Okay, here we are.
Linda.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Anne is iPhone Anne. And did you want me to put you in, Sid?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay,
I'd like to get in the contest.
Okay. So have I got everyone? 3, 6, 8. No, I'm missing somebody. Oh, just me. So that's good. Okay, so everyone's name should be Anne.
I only see 7 there. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
There's 8 of us, but I'm 8, right?
Oh,
One,
I
two.
gotcha. Yep. There was
Is that
9 a
right?
minute ago. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Whoops. Oh dear. What have I done? No. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay, they're still there. Phew.
I've
Um,
never seen this wheelofnames.com. This is interesting.
oh, there it goes. Okay.
And this is for a free 20-minute consultation with you, right, Dr.
Yes,
Pollock?
that's
Oh,
right.
Anne is.
Yeah.
I
Well,
shouldn't have
Yay!
said that.
thank you. That's great.
You are very welcome. You know what? Let's do another one. So Anne's name is out because you've got one, and then we'll try this again. And then I'll give you a link to sign up for that, to book a time.
Congratulations, Anne and
Yeah.
Sharon. How cool.
Hey.
A free
Oh,
consultation with Dr. Pollock. That's a really good bonus.
hey.
Yeah.
And then, so did everyone get the 6 strategies for having your best health and the whole
Yeah, I'm
food?
going to post that again in the chat. And would you talk a little bit more about what that is, Dr. Pollock?
Yeah, sure. It's so yeah, so the 6 strategies for having your best health. So I talk about basically different lifestyle habits and how to optimize them. And so that's like 5 pages, I think. And then the last page, you do have to scroll. It looks like it's the end, but scroll to one more page, and then that's the recipe for my whole food plant-based creme brulee. And it's fully whole food plant-based. And very yummy. Now, if you want to do the full thing, you need to have a blowtorch, which is actually really fun. Our teenagers love, and now they're young adults, some of them too, they love blowtorching. You hold the thing and you turn on the blowtorch and you just keep turning it. It's very fun and it's a very pretty dessert. So with Easter coming up, I thought that might be a fun thing for people to make. It's also delicious without the blowtorching. And for the blowtorch, you do have to put sugar on the top, come to think of it. So that's not whole food plant-based, but without the sugar on the top, like the cane sugar on the top, it's yeah.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever had creme brulee, or I have never had
Yeah.
that in my life, so I wouldn't even know what to compare it to. I'm sure it's delicious.
Yeah, 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 it's very good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Everyone, be sure to watch the replay of tonight's meeting so you can get more. Oh, I had a comment, like heart disease is the #1 killer here in the US, but it's #2 in Canada. What do you attribute that difference to, Dr. Pollock?
It's the $1 million question. I've been
Mm.
wondering the same thing. We have more cancer than heart disease. I'm not sure what the answer is.
Okay.
I mean, it
Interesting.
could have something to do with vitamins. Sorry?
I was
Oops.
just wondering if it was stress. I think we have a lot, a lot of stress in the United States. I don't know. It's just a guess.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, one thing is we need vitamin D in Canada, and without enough vitamin D, we're more susceptible to certain diseases like cancers and autoimmune diseases. And so is that why we get more cancer? Because not all Canadians take vitamin D, but we really need vitamin D. Like I need 4,000 international units personally to keep my level above where it should be at to prevent, cancer and all the other things.
Can I ask what that level is that one should be?
Yeah. So several years ago, the anti-cancer crowd, like people were telling me 100 to 150. I saw recently the number 137. That's where it should be for ideally preventing cancer or protecting against cancer.
So not 30. 30 is the, I guess, minimum.
Oh, do you know what? Sorry, you guys use different units. I think it is divided by 2.15. Let me take, because yeah, we use different units in Canada. 137 IU vitamin D. 20, yeah, you use,
Right. I think the standard American diet says 30, but like Dr. McDougall says 20. Some of them say that that's inflated, the number 30, but Dr. McDougall has articles on that. What do you think about that, Dr. Polak?
so that we're speaking the same language, I need to look up a calculator for vitamin D.
I've got a calculator here. What can I put in there?
There, I think you use nanograms per mil and we use nanomoles per liter.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
we do
just,
use nanograms per milliliter.
yeah. So when I say 130, no,
137 divided by 2 point something?
no, this is not right. I thought it was divided by 2.5, but I'm just trying to find like a vitamin D calculator, and this is not looking right. Oh, nanograms per mil. Okay, so let's say 30. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so were you talking about, so someone tells you 20 is enough, is high enough?
Well, Dr. McDougall has an article that unless you're below 20, you're not really deficient, but he thinks the number 30 is inflated and he has some data to back that up. But of course, make your own decisions, don't. We always
Yeah,
encourage people to look at the research themselves too.
right. The numbers I've seen are higher, but you know what? A lot of the vitamin D studies are not fantastic in that they're comparing, 400 international units or 800 international units. And it's like comparing like a quarter of a Tylenol for headache or half a Tylenol for headache. Like it's such low numbers. Like neither of those is going to be high enough. Like you're still going to see just as much cancer and autoimmune, one would expect, right? You wouldn't expect to treat headache or other pain syndromes with a minuscule dose of a painkiller. But one of the recent vitamin D studies, I can't remember now what it was, but I remember it was saying that the ideal level of vitamin D to aim for cancer, like you need a different amount of vitamin D for, avoiding different illnesses, like 75 or 80, which is, 1 second, 30, I think, 30 in your units. I think that's what Life Labs in Canada calls sufficient. But in talking about diseases, I would say higher is safer from what I have read. Let me see, 40. Yeah, 40 is 100. I would say 40 is kind of the minimum. And although they taught us in medical school, you have to be careful with vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are all fat soluble vitamins. In fact, I've never seen anyone go toxic on vitamin D. And I've had patients with, autoimmune diseases whose endocrinologists are putting them on, 50 units a week. 50,000 international units a week, instead of like, 1,000 a day or 2,000 a day. Like most family docs in Canada recommend 1 or 2,000 per day, international units of vitamin D3. But I've had patients whose endocrinologists are telling them to take 35,000 a day, 40,000 a day, because they have autoimmune disorders. And lots of people are put on 50,000 a week, even higher than that. So I think it's sorry.
Oh, thanks.
So I think it's pretty hard to actually take too much. I'm not one for mega dosing anything. I don't want to suggest anyone take more than is necessary. But in terms of vitamin D, I would say, do what your doctor is suggesting. I guess I should also say for this talk, like it's not medical advice, always depend on your doctor's advice. And, that's kind of a message that we all need to say, like, giving this research and this information is like a real joy for me, but I wouldn't want people to think this is like medical advice. Just, what I have found in the literature.
Yeah, you're sharing general information only, right, Dr. Polak, not specific advice.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, If anyone
Any other-
has any questions for PBNSG, you can reach out to connect@pbnsg.org. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So do you have any parting thoughts for us, Dr. Polak? Parting thoughts or words of wisdom as we sign off?
Sure, I'm thrilled that so many of you are already eating whole food plant-based. I think that's so great. I'd love to hear how it has impacted your health. And for people who weren't here, but who might watch it later, you know, I wish you all good things. I wish you a long and happy and healthy life. And if I can help in any way, then shoot me an email and we'll talk.
Thank you
And I
so
look forward
much.
to meetings.
Thank you. How do you watch the replay? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you will go to pbnsg.org and log in as a member. And then on your products tab in the upper right-hand corner, click on products and you will see the replay down below the scheduled meetings. They show the scheduled meetings coming up and then they show the replays below that.
And that would be right away, or you have to wait a few?
I would wait a day or two. I'm not sure how fast it goes up there, but within a couple days for sure.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here. And thank you, Dr. Polak. That was a really great presentation, and I sure learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and
I
thank
interrupt?
you so much for having me.
Can I
Okay,
interrupt?
good.
I'm sorry, guys. I switched because I was on my phone. So
Sure.
I won the consultation. I don't have any information on the chat. So how am I doing this?
Right.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Not at all. If you hold on for a second, I'll give you a link.
It's info. Is it this one? Let's see.
Well, yeah, do you know what? Just email me. That's the best idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Email me and I'll
Okay.
send you a link for booking a time with me.
Okay. Hang on.
Do you see it there, Sharon?
I see it. I'm just taking a picture.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I look forward to
All
meeting
right.
you.
Same.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everyone. Have a good weekend ahead.
Thanks for watching and for being a part of the PBNSG community. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for even more plant-based insights, expert interviews, and delicious recipes.